Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, folks. Michael Zuber, one rental at a time, back with his good friend, Mr. Stephen Dow. How you doing, sir?
I'm fantastic. And yourself?
I'm doing great, man. Do me a favor, get that marketing thing out of the way so we can talk about money.
You got it. Again, I work very happily for Velocity Mortgage Capital. All the ideas and topics discussed on his channel are that of my own. So let's get it going.
There you go. So, hey, what I want to talk about here, we teased it at the end of episode number 2, is when to pay off debt. Because
Right.
I think there are some times where paying off debt is 100% the right answer. And just to get it out
Right.
of the way, I'm not talking consumer debt or car debt,
Right.
any of that stuff. All that stuff should be paid off. If you're paying double digits interest rates on anything, pay that stuff
Right.
off. I'm talking about
Right.
mortgage debt. I actually think there are times where you should pay off mortgage debt. So before I get into my little rant, any thoughts? Any thoughts you have, Stephen, on that?
Well, and again, there's so many different, I think, factors that go into that, with the whole time in and timing the market. With the market being cyclical, sometimes you just make certain moves and you're just lucky with the timing of the situation. But then also with the time in the market, if you stay in it long enough, you're going to build that equity. So then now you can leverage that as well. So I think it's a combination of both, just making the right moves initially to acquire. Then obviously, if you've done all the homework, then it should be cash flowing. So you're able to be timing in, time in the market to take advantage of increased equity and so on and so forth. So no, I agree with that.
Yeah, I think again, I've had the luxury of helping thousands of people now.
Mhm.
And a good set of those folks are, I don't know, Dave Ramsey disciple / followers, if you will.
Right.
And sometimes I hear it in their voice, right? They got a 75% LTV loan on their first rental,
Right.
and they pay for my mentoring. They get 30 minutes of my time, and they're almost vibrating with fear. I mean, I don't know if it's fear, might be too strong. Nervousness.
Right. Anxiousness.
Anxious.
Yeah.
That's the word. Anxious.
Thank you. Yes.
Anxious. See, look at you.
I had my thesaurus out, so I was,
There you go. Anxious. And let me just tell you right now, if your mortgage debt makes you nervous and you can't sleep at night, that's a sign.
That is.
You're
Numbers are too tight.
Well, not even maybe, but I actually
Right.
know people, even if they have 60% LTV, plenty of cash flow, you and I wouldn't be concerned at all. But some of them are so debt is bad. Debt is bad. If that's you, let me give you 100% permission to pay it off. I don't think you should do anything in your life that adds stress.
Stress, right.
If
Agreed.
anything keeps you up at night, that is a sign.
Right.
So if you're a Dave Ramsey disciple and you get your first investment property and it cash flows and you got a great yield and all of that stuff, but you can't sleep at night, you have my permission to take every extra dollar and pay that thing off sooner rather than later. It's fine.
Right.
You're not gonna grow fast, but you're gonna sleep at night. So that's the first thing I just want to say. If that's you, by no means just pay. Life is short. Don't stress yourself out, right?
Right. Well, I think the circumstances will sometimes allow you or not allow you to make certain moves, right? Somebody's single. And this is where I think it's so important to make the right moves young to really set yourself up very well in the near future. But again, mindset, circles you run in, your mentors, parents, what you're taught. So I think that's where I think it comes into place, because I'm sure if people could make more aggressive moves, while they have children, while they got a lot more, stuff on their plate, and maybe, the fact that they got a lot more mouths to feed and more, to kind of be certain, they can't really take that high of a risk of a move. I'm assuming that's where they get anxious and can't sleep well. You know what I mean? And then other people, I mean, I'm rare. I'm single. I got no kids. I don't even have a goldfish. You know what I mean? I got no overhead, and yeah, I make a very good living. So as far as like making certain really aggressive moves, I can at this point because, I don't have that like worry. So I'm like, oh, what did I do? And so,
so that's the first one for me is if that's you, be cool. So here's another one that's kind of controversial, but again, it's my opinion. So, hey, it is what it is. The other thing I believe is, again, this comes from my upbringing where we almost lost our house, like foreclosure and all of that. Never forget those days. But I'm 100% okay with paying off your primary residence if that's what you want to do. I would pay your primary off long before I would pay off a rental property, just because I believe in sleeping at night. You take care of your friends, and you can use the equity via an equity line or a HELOC or whatever if you wanted to use it short term. But I have no problem if you want to pay off your home, especially before you retire, right? If you're 25 or 26, you got a long time, but you're going, hey, I want to be retired by 55. I think paying off your primary residence is not a bad idea, because again, that's often your biggest expense. So, what do you think of that?
Well, again, I would agree. Depends on situation as well. I mean, on the individual, if either their income, right now can somewhat help to build that nest egg so that they can do that, they don't even have to worry about that either due to a pension or other. So it's just, I guess, the individual circumstances, but it's always good in the big picture to pay something off where, especially, you got to rest your head at, and you don't have to worry about who's got to pay that next bill if something should happen. And especially if you're on a fixed income as you retire. So that's one of the more stress-free or less burdening kind of moves that I would have to agree with. So
and then the final one for me, I touch on it at the very end of my book, is when you're getting ready to be done or exit or whatever your word of choice is, your day job. I have no problem. This is something we did, is we went right back to our portfolio and simply said, we took all of our fourplexes, laddered them up, right? So we went from 50% LTV to 75. They still cash flow.
Right.
And then we took that equity and we paid off a bunch of little homes.
Right.
I wanted what I called the the shoot portfolio, because I lived through the last crash, right? What I was basically telling myself and Olivia is, hey, worst comes to worst, Armageddon again, 75% drop. They can have these fourplexes, but they can't touch these homes, right? I wanted a pile, small but big enough to fund, it wouldn't be an extravagant life, but we wouldn't be on food stamps either, with a small pile of free and clear. So I think when you're getting ready to exit, look at your portfolio, move debt around. And that's the beauty of having portfolios. I literally moved debt. I didn't take any money that we had saved. I took 20 grand from there, 30 grand from there, blah, 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 blah. Put, boom, boom, boom. I think our mortgage collectively, I think it went up like $300, but we were left with like 10 free and clear homes, something like that.
Wow.
We felt much better. So again, so those are kind of the three things. If debt makes you nervous, your primary, and when you're getting ready to be done, I think those are three great times to consider paying off some loans. What do you think? Yeah,
agreed. And again, I think it just comes down to circumstances, but generally speaking, that would be most of us out there. So unless you're Jay-Z, in the circle that you run in, or yourself, that would be, I would believe, so you can sleep better at night. Yeah, typically those are, there's going to be some outlying, situations where people are going to need to pay it off, mob debt that you had to pay, other things of that nature. But generally speaking, that's about right.
Yeah. Again, this is just conversations Stephen and I are having. Again, if I have no problem paying off debt, I have no problem free and clear. If you're following Dave Ramsey and that works for you, awesome. Congratulations. Keep doing it. Right. If you're committed, be committed. But if you're still making moves, go ahead.
Exactly. If you found a hot market, which is a lot of people that I'm noticing, and they just want to leverage dead money, but they're doing the numbers and they're seeing the appreciation and the demand in that area. So it's just doing the work, like you say all the time. It's just a lifestyle, and and the consistency, and that builds behavior, and behavior builds character, and so on and so forth. So
there you go.
Yes, sir. Just do the work.
Yeah. If somebody wants to reach out to you, talk blanket loan, 30-year money on apartments, BRRRR projects, whatever you want. How should they reach out?
SDAO, so SBAO at velocitymortgage.com. Please put in the subject line ORAAT, which stands for one rental at a time, but just the acronym ORAAT.
5 letters.
The body, please, 5 letters. Body of the email, property type, desired terms, your mid-FICO score, and the best phone number to reach you at. 24, 48 hours, I'll be in touch.
Awesome, buddy. Thank you very much.